Sullivan is going to run the education committee. When they're done, they'll adjourn, and that's when we'll take up the budget. But rather than do two presentations, Dr. Phillips and everybody else will do that one time. So, we're good to go, Mr. Sullivan? Yes, sir. And are you going to use the microphones there?
All right, we'll start with education. Father, thank you for this time. Pray, Father, your blessings on families and people that are here. We just ask that you continue to do in our county, do in our state, do in our country. Lord, I pray that you make wise decisions tonight as it affects citizens of Sumner County. Pray for those that are harmed joy on a daily basis, Lord, that you protect them. Be with us tonight, in Jesus' name. Okay, we got approval of the joint committee's agenda. Commissioner Gary Becker, Gary Foster, second by Commissioner Green. Recognition of the public. Yes, sir. No. Okay. No, approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Point of order, Mr. Foster is not our committee.
Okay, just so we clarify, because I've done this already previously and had mysterious committee members, so if you're nowhere about them, so that we make sure we don't, let's, everybody from the first part until we can get the adjournment needs to only be voting as an education committee member. The rest of us are just silently here supporting. So if you want to just read through the approval of the joint committee agenda.
All right, so,
Thank you.
motion approved. Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Good and second by Mr. Ray. Okay, thanks, sir. Approval of the minutes, October 13th.
So,
Second. Commissioner Baker, second by Commissioner Good. No report from me, report from county mayor.
Mayor says, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for conducting a good meeting, and appreciate you being this morning.
New business, and I'm going to yield the floor now to Director Sills.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you guys doing this. Having a joint meeting was always beneficial to me. To be able to have both groups together, have weeks, appreciate you doing this. I wanted to start out, while I handed it out, I wanted to start out with kind of video that made of the new school complex. So if you look, you can kind of see, obviously, where the new cutting from the road is. You can see the building, part of the high school is already locked up, and forward planes on the second floor. You can kind of see the middle school, not everything annexed to the courtyard. The gym there to the left, CTE and the cafeteria back to the right. All that student parking where the shop box at. And then you go up the hill, you kind of see, like the lady can see to the left, is where the football field is down where it's cut out. Field house will be there to the right. Baseball's first, you kind of see the word kind of back to the out. Softball is right above that. And you go to the left. Left is soccer, practice football track. And I think there's practice, maybe soccer field here, and a couple more down to the left. Being graded. I think if it wasn't on mobile, you'll be able to see the road there on the south side of the property. Yeah, there's football practice, soccer game field, soccer across. I think it's a little bit better here at the football field, you can kind of see it. Of course, the road will be to the south end of where that football field is cut out right now. That's how we're looking back toward our station camp, Perry Road. So they've done some work, they're on schedule, they're doing a good job. It's a big project, a lot of moving parts, but they're doing a tremendous job, happy with the work and the progress we're doing. I think in a second, I hope it will show, go back over the link, I think it does, and then show the elementary school, I hope. Yeah, there's the elementary school. You can see where it comes off the line of Hunters, the lane, it comes in, of course, you've already seen the footprint of the building there, where they wrote in and poured the footers, and you kind of can tell a little bit about the parking area to the rear. That's going back over to Mr. Brown's house. And I think when you get up to the top of the hill here, closer to where you can see where the road cuts around the side edge of the property. You can kind of see the middle school up closer to that where that road was at. Give you a little idea kind of how we're doing out there. It's been a beautiful campus, and they're doing a great job with it. Let me hand you guys out some stuff here. First off, you want to hand some of those. Can you help me? Hand those out. The first one, thank you. Sometimes it's good to have these things, just in case you need them. When you get done, you should have 4 pieces of cardstock. You're going to have 4 of those somewhere. That's cool. You should have 4 pieces of paper. 2, 3, just to say. You got 4? It'll help with that one right there. That's all right. You should have 4 pieces of cardstock. Anybody get 4? 4. So this one is just kind of basically just the campus plan. This is what you just saw, you just flew over. So really, I just want you to have this. We've had this for a long time. We've had it on like this. You can see representation, of course, we just flew over where the road's at across the top of the building. Student parking, football field, you kind of see all the way down to the elementary school. So this is more for you just to have that with you. Because sometimes people may ask you, and I thought it'd be good for you guys to have. So when we're talking about the middle school and what's, I think with Mr. Wally, this evening we're talking through about what are the next steps, obviously, for us with the building program. And I think obviously you guys know about the middle school, because we've been talking about it since we bought property down there. So you knew that was coming. We do believe that, now, and Ms. Wanda can talk about this in better detail, Chairman Taylor, we do believe now, obviously, the appetite for the bonds pretty good, especially for strong financial counties. We feel like probably that we're in a better position now to do that and to fund the middle school, go ahead and get it started, which would probably eliminate the need for students to be, middle school students to be in the 9th grade wing for more than a year. And quite possibly the board may choose to not even zone those middle school students to that campus until their building is finished. So it may even eliminate them having to be there to just stay in their current school. We'll just have to decide that. If it gets approved and we get it funded, we'll make that decision later on when final zoning comes around in January of this coming year. But long story short, at that particular campus, we always knew that we were going to be in a position to ask for that building to be funded. If you look, for us, we went ahead and built in all the infrastructure, everything from the curb in would be the only thing that the contractor would need to take care of. We already have subgrade building pad, all of those things, utilities, all of that kind of stuff was built into our original bid. So that's the work that you just saw. So it will be, from a construction perspective, fairly easy, fairly quick to get off the ground in relationship to getting started, because they'll already have pretty much all of the things that consume some early time already taken care of. That particular school, we will build the same middle school concept. We'll change the facade to match Liberty Creek and the elementary and high school. The actual footprint and design will be about the same as our other new middle schools, like Knox Falls, Portland West. It'll be about 127,000 feet or so. And I think we're probably somewhere all in, fees and all, around 37 million probably for that particular project. If you look, and you can kind of look at this graphic, you guys have seen this before. I've used this a bunch on this plan. If you look, you can look at our middle schools that are the newer middle schools, and you'll see that number, like Portland West is 938, 127,880 square feet. You can also look at Knox Falls, in Drake Street, and you'll see where I think it's maybe 10 square feet bigger. It's 9.3, 127,890. So we know the actual size of that building, the footprint, and it's going to be right on top of those numbers. So it kind of helps us as far as the planning cycle, and it's just down to infrastructure costs, which on this particular campus will be very low because we've already built that money into the current Liberty Creek campus cost, and it would just be price per foot for what's actually bid. I do think that we will have an advantage. By doing this early, not only with the long-term cost of interest, potentially construction costs as you look 2-3 years out, but I also think that if we can hopefully get a much better bid from the contractor that's already there, and the mobilization costs and other things are much lower because they're there. They have job trailers there, they have their equipment there, and certainly once this goes out to bid, they may not be the low bid, but they'll certainly, I think, have a pretty good advantage as far as the job is concerned. So the middle school campus, we knew that was coming. I think we're trying to just take advantage of some things that are out there in the market and move it a little faster than what we had originally said. So that's why we wanted to bring that to you. Now, for a discussion about the White House, if you will look, and I don't know any of those, I know, but the White House is a growing spot in town. If you haven't been up there lately, or if you don't follow housing permits and kind of how things are going, there was a lot of residential construction on the Robertson County side, and now that's shifted over, and there's some pretty good sized developments that have been approved and seem to be getting pretty active over on our side. So if you take this, these maps always help you, because I know the names of these farms, and then once they actually get approved and zoned, and then they name the subdivision or the development, it kind of changes. So if you look at that, you'll see where Avery Ridge is at. Kind of down there, put the little white mark back to it, and then White House High School, to kind of get some area on where you're at, you know that area. Currently, H.B. Williams is the only school in our county that has a different grade configuration. It is pre-K 4, because 5th grade in the White House footprint, 5th grade goes to the middle school, okay? And that was done years ago. Actually, if you look on the map, if you look on this particular page, you will see White House Middle School. And we actually, the school board in the county, purchased property to kind of do the plan that we're talking about this evening years ago. And they bought the property to make that happen. They never did build on it. If you go to the White House Middle School, when you turn in to the right, you see that old home, the old house that's just there. And that's, you can see that kind of just outside of the white footprint of this particular graphic. So for us, we know that probably two things are happening. One, we have about 675 or so students over at H.B. Williams, which for less grades than our typical elementary schools is pretty good sized school. In the future, if all these developments happen, which I suspect the two biggest ones I know on here, then you're going to be in a situation where you already have the fifth grade in the middle school. So you're not going to be adding much there. You're losing capacity because your fifth grade's already in your middle school. And then you really don't have any capacity much to handle that growth that's probably going to come due to H.B. Williams. So my thought and what the school board approved, and I want to ask you guys to do is while we're doing this, go ahead and build a 3, 4, 5 building, okay, that's going to be about 60,000 square feet on this particular campus. And that's what that overlay is on the graphic, kind of showing the White House Middle School campus. That shows you kind of how the building, of course, it will change a little bit, obviously, once we do some geotech and some other things on the site. That gives you kind of an idea of how it would look. About a 60,000 foot building there, the house grades 3, 4, and 5. You take the fifth grade out from your middle school, so you're going to be able to capture that capacity. You're going to get an additional 2 grades out of HB, so you're going to create some capacity there. Really, in all honesty, you're going to wind up having enough room to grow from an average of around 135, 140 students per grade in that cluster, all the way up to somewhere between 175 and 185 per grade. So you're going to be able to consume all of these developments over a 10 or 15-year window, plus even some more than maybe your own. So that's the easiest way to capture the dollars we've already spent in the White House, to building 3, 4, 5 on the land we already own. The utilities are there. I think that's kind of what the long-term plan was anyway. It gives you capacity at all 3 buildings. You already have capacity at the high school because of the annex. So I think from a high school perspective, you would be in good shape after the renovations. They really won't need to do anything there. So kind of gives you some room to grow in the White House. I think that's going to happen. It utilizes the resources that we already have there, probably to the best of our ability. So that's kind of my part of it. I'll be glad to answer questions if you guys have any. Like I said, the middle school I know we talked about for quite some time, but I do think the 3, 4, 5 building there in the White House would be something that is needed. It's going to be even more so in the future. I think now would be a really, really good time, smart time to go ahead and do that.
Any questions regarding the education?
This summary, just kind of address where we see some usage indicators that, there are other schools that are, reaching some of these thresholds that are concerning. I know that Liberty's pre-campus addresses most of them. Is it all of them?
Yes, all of these reds on here get addressed with the exception of 1.4. That's an interesting one. Let me tell you what happens in high school. In high school, when you built 30 years ago, and you had classrooms and classrooms and classrooms, and all of your floors, like cafeteria, and those things are locked up inside the building. I mean, there's nowhere to move. Your square footage is your square footage. Then it sometimes starts to tip over and cause your core to be in the red. Does that make sense? So some of those things are just without building an entirely new school. Sometimes when you continue to add to your high schools, that just happens. It's much more frequent that you see that in high school than you do anything else.
That's the difference between the core and the classroom. Yeah.
And I think everything else on that sheet, will be taken care of when we rezone. We'll download as much as there will be the rest on that sheet.
And I also on to the next source. Okay. Pretty quickly. Ones that are highlighted below.
They're just the biggest ones, and the ones that have the biggest one, I think that's, yeah. Those are just the ones where, like, Bravo Creek, there's only one locked up. So when you look like it could all there, the little pretty farm that we bought, one in high school and HB, and you got 446 units there. So when you see some of the bigger ones, that's obviously the ones that sometimes we take attention to a little bit. And I don't know if you guys have been up to HB, some of you have, or two of you guys. If you end up there with 675 on that campus, and you go during school start and stop, it's not necessarily pleasant. There's a subdivision there's just past HB that's going to happen that will compound that. I think there's going to be some work in the red light possibly, and some improvements as part of that. That's what I hear. But downloading that school certainly is going to help that too. You know, a lot of people earning here to go home, riding by school.
Separate these out, motion for anyone on it.
C is for information only. B is the 1% one-time bonus. That we count for state funds, and then also out of some allocations to be moved to the school budget. So we got a motion, Commissioner Good, second by Commissioner Crew.
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification, I believe this is all dealing with the county.
This is the
County three, the classified employees, not certified. Is that correct?
No, that is, that's everybody across the board. All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? All right, motion to adjourn education.
All right, with that being said, we'll start the budget on, whatever you want to read. Thank you, sir. All right, this is a meeting of the Budget Committee, March 8th, 2021. It's a joint committee with the Education that has since been adjourned. Recognition to the public, see Mo and Jeremy here as the other commissioners. There are a few other commissioners that are carried over from Education, so we have it documented in the minutes. All right, take an entertained motion for approval of the agenda. Or sorry, approval of the minutes. Thank you, sir. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, we will need to pass our agenda. Entertain motion for all approval. The minutes, okay, take a motion for the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right. So now we're moving on. I will just address mine real quick. For the budget committee, you know we've got that big pay plan study coming in. We've got some different bids on it from the range of $50,000 to $130,000. What we'd like to do is, because there's a variety of ways that it can be approached, and we've discussed for over 2 years now about doing an HR director for the county, what I'd like to ask is Mr. Lawn and the county mayor to get together. There's going to be some changes with risk management over this next few months, and if they would please work out a potential budget and office for HR, putting risk management underneath that, and then so that we can keep Ms. Denman impartial and not have to spend money on co-attorneys, if she would review it at the very end for us. And if they can present that next month, and the reason I'm asking them to do that, it's not anything we have to vote on, but that way next month we'll have a proposal from them for HR. At the same time that we might want to start looking at those bids, and that way we can move forward with it. The idea of hopefully hiring an HR person to come in at the same time we've got that pay plan, so they can use that to actually apply some structure to county general for pay, steps, and all the other things, and also to ensure that we don't spend the money we've been having to spend on co-counsels, just because when someone comes to this den, it's a conflict of interest and she can't avoid that. So that's my report. I'll move on from that point and go to, Mr. County Mayor.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Long, go right ahead, sir.
Item A is just informing the commission, anybody interested with the financial statements will be on the county website the night of the county commission. Item 2 is the cash flow analysis requested by the state for the highway department. If you look at it, it actually looks very good at this point. The gas tax is down from last year, but nowhere near what we feared, so it's actually helping somewhat. And then the other one is a list of late failures for the 22 budget. The private act requires all requests to be in March 1st. There's a group of individuals and groups here that did not turn theirs in. Because we do need to get them in here quickly and expediently move with the budget, because it's already a tight time frame. We've got COVID going on.
Would you please move on, Mr. Long, emphasizing the timelines from us?
Well, can we request that they have them in by Friday, and if they can't, then I think at this point we probably need to give them last year's budget or nothing. So we're not, it makes it more.
What we did last year, wasn't it?
Yes, and some of them are repeats, but it makes it extremely hard to complete the budget. And also you have all the other departments besides this list and agencies that didn't make those sometimes.
That's what we've done, I think, for the past 2 years. If they don't have to turn in, they'll just use their budget that's submitted to
Yeah, because it sets a bad precedent, but because of the snow this year and COVID and things going on, I'm just requesting the committee approve to have an email sent in the morning, and anybody that gets them here by Friday morning, that we take them as a normal submission, and after that, we just take last year's budget.
It's not so good. Is everybody comfortable doing that? If you're not, okay, sounds good. Please do so, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the end of my report.
No old business, new business. All right. Let's discuss real quick to kind of paraphrase it. The bonds we're looking at is 2011 and 2012.
13.
13, thank you. And the reason we're looking at those particular bonds, obviously we have bonds in the county that go back 20 years. There's things that happened well before us. But the rates back then were quite a bit different from the rates we have today. So by recalling those bonds, what we're doing is just want to reissue them, refinance them, for lack of a better word, The rate we're gonna get between the two bonds at minimum will save us $2.1 million, with the potential of almost $2.5 or more $1 million. Savings just 1.6 for the first one.
That was combined, and about 500,000 for the second.
Okay, so about 1.6 minimum, possibly up to $2 million for overall for the bonds. The reason we're talking about the middle school and everything else in Dr. Phillips' presentation was we're looking at about 5 to 6% inflationary costs for construction right now. And what he was mentioning is we already have people on site doing the construction. We're going to benefit from having them on site to be able to just slide over and hopefully to the other one. But also, we're looking at about $5 million over the next 2 years if we wait on that. In addition, there's a lot of indicators that are saying that the interest rate's going to be changing dramatically over the next year or so. Fed's kind of said that. If that happens, in turn, our bond rates are going to change, and it's going to cost a little bit more money. So what we're looking at is we know we've got to purchase this. As far as building the middle school, we can theoretically save $5 million right off the bat by doing it this year rather than waiting next year. And that's just based on some very, very conservative numbers about inflationary costs for construction and the potential increased cost for bonds. It may be a lot more than that, we're not sure. If there's a concern about capacity, we have the bond capacity this year by reissuing these bonds to do that. It won't be any problem at all. The next year or so, we'll need to wait on doing any others. Then the year after that will be 40 million, then I think it jumps to 100 million as far as capacity. But the exciting part is by reissuing the bonds and doing it early, we're going to refigure our debt management structure. So after 2 years, we'll go from about 33 million, check my numbers, David, a year that we're paying for debt services to 20 million. So that's going to be bringing $13 million a year in debt services. Now, obviously, when we get to that point, 2 years, we can look at, okay, do we refold that back in and pay our debt off faster? Do you reallocate it? There's a million different things. We'll talk about that in 2 years. But the goal is that we're going to start saving in the next few years, initially $5 million or plus up front. And on top of that, by restructuring, we're going to be saving, 10 to 13 million a year for the next several years. So that's kind of why we're looking at doing all this right now. I realize that it's probably about a year, maybe a year and a half earlier than what we talked about for the middle school. But just with the way the economy is right now and the numbers are so good, it's going to be very, very costly to wait a year and a half. Especially when you look at being able to recall those two bonds to where we can restructure things so that in 2 years, our debt responsibilities go from 33 million to 20 million is a big deal now. So all that to say that, bring up to entertain a motion for the first part being a bond resolution so we can go through the Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, now Mr. Long, how do you want us to phrase this for the next part?
A was your bond resolution that approves the calling and the refinancing of the 2011 and the 2013 issuance for the $52 million for the schools. Items B and C, that's just giving you details on the savings, the $1.6 million estimated on the 2011 and the around $500,000 on the 2013. So items B and C actually just shows you a couple of things. One, it shows you details on all the costs. It shows you details on all the savings. And then also there's a sheet in there that shows you your debt structure after all the refinancing and new issues, the estimated debt structure. These do need to be sent to the commission to make sure we apply with their debt policy with their information purposes. The resolution is what really matters.
Do you need a separate resolution for each one?
What I'd like to have is have the bond resolution that you've approved. And then also just right below those informational on the minutes have items B and C spread on there. And then I do want to make one point of clarification on the actual resolution. If anybody looks at the resolution, there is an item A, which is the plan to refinance. As soon as you guys approved it tonight, which you just did, we're going to send the plan to refinancing to the state, and it agrees exactly to what I just told you, and it agrees to these two details. As soon as I receive that back, we are going to email it to all the commissioners and send it to financial management for the commissioners. But when you receive the resolution on the commission floor, it does have to have the plan of refinancing approved, and we will have it back, we think about a week before the meeting. Just make sure everybody understands it's not in there, and items B and C is for information, but we do need to have a motion to spread those on the minutes along with the resolution.
Gentlemen,
Second, thank you. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. And again, as always, on budget committee, anything that passes unanimously, it waives the second reading so that we're covered and we can move to the agenda. All right, Mr. Swan, we're now on the appropriations. This first one is B1. It's from Mr. Kent. He has a couple different funds. Does he want?
Did you get items 2 and 3, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Did we get items 2 and 3 also?
No, we did not. That,
Okay.
I was too busy. Group approved?
brief information to motion.
Thank you all. Have you got Jessica's motion by Michelle, second by Mr. Mitchell, and Mr. Booth clarified, so for two. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Number 3 is for information, so we can adopt that. Now, number D1, appropriations. This, Mr. Kemp has a couple different funds that can only be used for his stuff, and for a very specific way based on what the state says. This is actually the first time he's ever been able to actually use this account for what he's supposed to do for. And the data processing is restricted to the way they do the license plates and some other stuff, but he can actually use it for in-use. So he asked if he spend $10,000 on it, so I so moved.
Second. Second.
Oh, thank you. All right, motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Wow. All right. Jerry, Sheriff's Office, it's $22,548.49 for state inmate medical reimbursement. I so moved. Second. Second, thank you, Mr. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Capital projects, Dave, anything special you want to point out on this?
These are the ones that we're doing this year, requested by the sheriff, and I think through Mr. Holt's office, we have $2.7 million currently, a little bit over in the local capital to cover this. I believe this is the priority listing from, is it predominantly from the sheriff's department? Oh, I'm sorry. If we're looking at the $40,000 for the bay and the $35,000 for the maintenance equipment, and the $140,000.
That's for the garage, that's for the sheriff's office.
That is correct, it is for mowing equipment that we're gonna be needing, to mow all the grass and for parking lot improvements for, the training facility out of the sheriff's office.
I so moved.
From local
Mr.
capital.
Good. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, this was the one we discussed last month with the commission's $250,000 audio upgrades for the chambers in here from capital projects fund up to $250,000. So that we can kind of review everything, and it's anything else we want to say on that one?
I think this is one of the requests to take from local capital, but is it audio and video? I think it's audio and video.
It is audio and video, and it's also for, it's not just for the chambers one, so. Can we separate that one again?
These are,
Okay.
this is for the chamber audio and video. But can we also make sure when they make the motion to include video and make video, it says audio?
Okay. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, and please note that it does say audio slash video for the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, last one is the finance department. Finance for $70,000 from unassigned fund balance for increased autopsy expenses. I think it's self-explanatory. So moved. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. And this is a drug task force, $432 increase in contributions, and this is to equal equal to 1% one-time bonus we gave to the employees, since they have to be separate. I so move.
Second.
Second, Mr. Foster, thank you, sir. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous, sir. All right, next one is EMA, Countywide Communication System Annual Maintenance and Software Update Shared Costs. This is obviously for our radio system.
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
I think, here's the question, Mr. Taylor. The original was proposed that all the participants pay part of the cost, and Mr. Widener has a couple of different ways he can request it, but I think he.
Yeah.
He was here definitely.
He was-
Here's what he told me. Annual cost is in the bid document that was submitted to finance. Discussion at the time was the system was approved, that we would pay it and reach out to the cities. But we could use the ECC formula, or we could use a per subscriber formula where everybody, including volunteer fire departments, all users might just pay a fee.
And I think Ken was, the way I was talking to, was he leaning more towards the first driver. Because I mentioned to do the
Subscriber
ECC.
ideal.
I mentioned the ECC would be the easiest way to do it, but
But
I
then
think
that was
he's,
about the volunteer fire.
right, but I think he's leaning more for the cost per prescriber. He just wants guidance from the budget committee before he reaches out to the city.
Wow. I thought you had a question.
And the users, the other users can do that. But I think if you just make a motion that you want to do it per prescriber, and have them go back to the users and discuss billing to them. But that was the original discussion with the system.
All right. Any discussion on that? When we say first subscriber, we're being individual radios, right?
Per radio, he
Right,
said,
there's 668 radios.
And if we said the ECC one, that's where we divide up the same way we do ECC with the cities and the municipalities, but that doesn't include volunteer fire or anybody else that we might be. that might
Correct,
have
any of the
radios.
other departments that might have it that I'm not.
Which I think is it's almost up to 100 radios, isn't it? Or close.
668.
Well, I'm saying almost 100 that are non-parts of the municipality. that are places.
That I don't know right now. I can
think-
find out if you'd like to know.
Yeah, so we're kind of passing the cost on to the municipalities for the people that don't use them, or that are using them, not include that. So I would say we go subscribe, but we'll see what we all day.
usually a user fee, Mr. Taylor's easier to get people to agree with, to see if they're correlation, so. That's why Ken was thinking that way, and I think it's important.
I'll make a motion that we pass EMA through approving this on a subscriber basis.
I say that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passed unanimously, any opposed? Passed unanimously, all right. Transfers, Mr. Vaughn?
The first is, the state came out, all of our coding is based on state chart of accounts. After we started receiving the CARES money, they came back with particular line items for the CARES by major categories. So this first one is just us reclassifying all the grants for CARES back to the correct major categories, but this one will need to go to county commission where we can move them in the requested line item. The second one was within payroll line items, and there's nothing really out of the ordinary in there. And then there's nothing out of the ordinary in the other one.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Ms. Nunn, anything clear on this one?
No.
All right. Make the motion. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. One more. Please, sir. And if we could save our big giant paper clips, if you're not going to use them, so we give back to you.